As A-levels approached, the new transfer student that Liam fell in love with became angry again. All because of her words, "I don't want to see you." He asked me to transfer schools. None such high school isn't bad. Once she calms down, I'll let you come back. Don't make this difficult, Gardenia. I nodded in agreement and packed my things to leave. His best mate tried to reason with him. Have you forgotten Gardenia has a hearing impairment? Won't she be bullied if she goes to another school alone? You two grew up together, and you used to like her so much. Are you really okay with sending her away? Liam raised an eyebrow. That was in the past. Childhood friends can't compete with new love, don't you know? Besides, I'll have her back in 3 months, tops. 3 months later, when Liam called to ask me to return, the carefree boy beside me chuckled near my hearing aid. Baby, you should close your eyes when kissing. And don't answer calls from other blokes. Ding! webnovel reminds you to click the subscribe button in the bottom right corner to read the complete novel. On the day the mock exam results came out, I rose from 5th to 3rd in our year. Meanwhile, Irene Farrington dropped from 20th to somewhere beyond 30th. Someone remarked, "How did Irene fall back so much?" And Gardenia moved up 2 places again. Irene's eyes immediately welled up with tears as she glanced at me. Are you happy now, Gardenia? You study so hard every day just to make others think. Liam made a poor choice in picking me, don't you? With that, she ran out of the classroom. Even when the bell rang for class, she hadn't returned. Our confused form tutor asked me, as the class representative, to find Irene. Half an hour later, I spotted Irene sitting on a planter near the basketball court. In front of her was Liam Sheffield, bending down and speaking to her softly. I don't know what Liam said, but Irene's tears turned to laughter. Sunlight filtered through the trees, falling on the two of them, creating a scene straight out of a teen drama. Seeing me approach, Liam narrowed his eyes. As if to appease Irene, he tossed the basketball he was holding towards me. But it accidentally hit my hearing aid. After a buzzing sound in my ear, I could no longer hear anything in my left ear. Liam clearly hadn't anticipated this. A flash of surprise crossing his face before quickly disappearing. He then walked towards me. Gardenia, you should transfer schools, he said. Irene has a temper, and she's always upset with me because of you. Just a month ago, he had asked me, Gardenia, will you be my girlfriend after the A-levels? With exams approaching, I instinctively wanted to refuse. But Liam said, Gardenia, don't make this difficult for me. Every day you're here, Irene is unhappy. You don't want to make things hard for your father, do you? My father works at Sheffield Group. For Irene's sake, he was threatening me with my father's job. I knew my father had worked at Sheffield Group for years. From age 22 to 45. I couldn't let him become unemployed in middle age because of me. All right, I agreed. Liam seemed to breathe a sigh of relief. Once she calms down, I'll let you come back. Irene seemed to have overheard and came over, tugging at Liam's hand possessively. Liam, I think None Such High School would be just fine. None Such High was ranked last among the high schools in Sedone. Liam naturally knew this. He just smiled lazily and said, all right, if that's what you want. I clenched my fist around the broken pieces of my hearing aid, feeling them dig into my palm. It hurt, but it kept me from crying. After a long moment, I threw the broken hearing aid into a rubbish bin. Then I turned and walked away. Liam quickly arranged my transfer paperwork. The news of my transfer spread throughout the school. As I was packing my things, people around me were gossiping. Is it true? Is Liam really sending Gardenia away for Irene? Weren't they childhood sweethearts who grew up together? Ah, that's why they say childhood friends can't compete with a new flame. Remember how good Liam used to be to Gardenia? Ever since Irene showed up, Liam hasn't walked home with Gardenia even once. What a shame. Gardenia's grades were so good, she had a shot at Cambridge. Transferring now will surely have a huge impact. I heard she's going to None Such High School. That place is notorious for troublemakers. If Gardenia goes there, all her years of hard work might go to waste. Under the sympathetic gazes of everyone, I hugged my belongings, preparing to leave. As I reached the stairwell, I overheard Liam's friend trying to persuade him. Don't forget Gardenia has a hearing impairment. Won't she be bullied if she goes to another school alone? You two grew up together, and you used to like her so much. Are you really okay with sending her away? Liam leaned against the wall and chuckled. What's there to be not okay about? The past is the past. Haven't you heard that childhood friends can't compete with a new flame? Besides, I'll bring her back in 3 months. As he finished speaking, he seemed to sense something and looked up. He saw me standing at the top of the stairs. His gaze fell on my slightly swollen ears, and he frowned. He instinctively walked up and took my hand. Come on, let me take you to buy a new hearing aid first. Consider it my compensation to you. I shook my head. No need, that hearing aid was originally a gift from you anyway. Now, we're even. The moment he broke my hearing aid, the pain in my ears made me determined to cut all ties with Liam. Liam was stunned. That hearing aid was the gift he had given me on his 17th birthday. The Sheffield family had never encouraged extravagant spending for their children, and Liam's pocket money was not abundant. He had worked 2 summer jobs last year to buy me this hearing aid, even using up all his savings in the process. Back then, the 17-year-old boy had secretly put the hearing aid on me while I was asleep. When I woke up and cried in surprise, he frantically tried to comfort me. Liam was always so good to me that his mother had countless times suggested I become her daughter-in-law. Liam would grin cheekily and say, "You don't need to tell me that. Do you think I've been raising my wife all these years for someone else?" Everyone was certain we would go to university together, date, and get married. Liam had lived next door to me with his grandfather since we were little. We grew up together. He would wake me up and carry my school bag every day. When he confessed his feelings to me, I blushed and accepted. Until Irene appeared, everything changed. When she arrived as a transfer student, Liam, sitting next to me, stared at her for a long time. At that moment, I knew something had shifted. Sure enough, Liam and Irene grew closer over time. He no longer went to and from school with me, and the back seat of his bicycle became Irene's exclusive spot. Even though I distanced myself from Liam, Irene still disliked me. She accused me of studying hard just to make others think Liam had made the wrong choice. Gradually, even Liam started to believe this and became very resentful. He held Irene's hand and berated me in front of the whole class for being manipulative. Irene also cried, claiming I had no boundaries and was interfering in their relationship as a third party. But Liam and I had grown up together. He was the one who confessed to me, saying we would be together after our A-levels. Liam stood by, offering no explanation. I was utterly heartbroken. I distanced myself from Liam, thinking this would keep the peace. Until today. Liam opened his mouth, wanting to say something. But Irene interrupted. "Liam, let's go home together." He glanced at me once more before leaving. When I returned home, Dad cautiously brought up his idea of resigning and starting his own small company at the dinner table. He carefully sought the opinions of Mom and me. "If I start a business, our life won't be as stable as it is now," he said. "And we're not exactly flush with cash. I'm thinking of selling our house and buying one in the suburbs. What do you think?" Mom frowned. "Odin, why don't we forget about it? Gardenia is about to start university soon. We'll need to prepare her trousseau when she graduates." "What if we're not getting any younger?" she added. They knew about Liam and me. Because of this, even though many people had tried to headhunt Dad away from Sheffield Group over the years, he never wavered. Especially since Liam was an only child. Dad had been particularly dedicated to his work at Sheffield Group, feeling too guilty to leave. Dad pressed his lips together. "You're right." Then, I suddenly spoke up, interrupting him. "Dad, I support your business venture." I knew Dad's capabilities. He had experience and had been deeply involved in the industry for many years, with all the necessary resources. In recent years, due to Grandpa and Grandma's poor health, our family savings weren't substantial. He must have been really eager to start his own business and had considered it thoroughly. Otherwise he wouldn't have asked us at this time. Do what you want to do, I said. Dad's eyes welled up. Mum chimed in, you've really grown up, Gardenia. Odin, go for it then, she added. After the decision was made, Mom immediately contacted an estate agent. Although the house was old, it was in a central location. With Dad's fair pricing, we quickly signed a contract. The new owners agreed to let us stay for a few more days. Every day after work, Mom and Dad went to look at houses in the suburbs. Then my birthday arrived. Mom left work early and asked me to deliver a few birthday cakes to the Sheffield family. I hesitated for a moment. But under Mum's urging, I walked to the front door of Liam's house. She didn't know that the school transfer was Liam forcing me to leave. After all, Liam had always said it was my own decision to transfer schools. Although she didn't approve when she saw the process transfer notice. She just sighed and didn't say anything more. Mrs. Sheffield opened the door. She was delighted to see me. Gardenia, you're here. Yes, Mum asked me to bring over some cake, I replied. Just as I finished speaking, I heard giggles coming from Liam's room. It was Irene's voice. Sure enough, the door opened, and Irene walked out of Liam's room wearing a skimpy miniskirt. Mrs. Sheffield looked embarrassed. Gardenia, she's... Liam brought her home. I knew what she wanted to say. I shook my head. It's all right, Mrs. Sheffield. I've delivered the cake, so I'll be off now. With that, I turned to leave. Behind me, I could hear Mrs. Sheffield scolding. Liam, aren't you being too harsh? Didn't you used to fancy Gardenia? You'll hurt her feelings like this. Gardenia must be upset. Followed by Liam's nonchalant voice, whatever. Early the next morning, I went with Dad and Mum to our new house. Along with the moving company. Due to budget constraints, Dad had chosen a decently renovated second-hand property. As luck would have it, it was very close to Nonsuch High School. The day I was to start at Nonsuch High School, I declined my parents' offer to drive me there, knowing Dad had just started his new business and had a lot on his plate. So I set off alone with my backpack to Nonsuch High. The form tutor was a chubby, balding man who beamed at me when he saw me. As I reached the classroom door, I could hear a cacophony of noise from inside. Due to my deafness in my left ear, my right ear was particularly sensitive. I jumped when someone knocked over a chair. The form tutor, Mr. Paxton, smiled reassuringly and said, "Don't worry, just wait here a moment." He then marched in with his hands on his hips, bellowing in a booming voice. "Quiet down, all of you." No one paid any attention. His face reddened as he threatened, "Or I'll call your parents." That finally brought some semblance of quiet. Today, we have a new transfer student joining our class. I walked in and stood at the front, introducing myself briefly. "Hello everyone, I'm Gardenia Miller." Gardenia like the flower. The class erupted in excited chatter. "The new girl is so pretty. Quick, is my hair a mess today?" From the corner of the room, an irritated voice cut through. "Shut up." Silence fell instantly. I was a bit taken aback. Mr. Paxton looked exasperated for a moment before directing me to sit in front of that person. I hesitated. Mr. Paxton reassured me, "Don't worry, that lad doesn't hit girls." "So he hits people. How scary." My new seatmate was a girl. She introduced herself to me. "I'm Jolie Fisher, but everyone calls me Jolly." "You can call me that too." I nodded. The teacher walked in, and I quickly took out my books. The pace at Nonsuch High School was indeed different from Center High School. During class time, almost everyone was doing their own thing. Some were sleeping, others reading novels, and a few were even doing their nails. Paper airplanes with cheat notes flew back and forth over my head. The teacher seemed long accustomed to this. She took a few sips of tea before picking up her book again. "Where was I?" she asked. I carefully reminded her, the third main point. She nodded, "Right." Then she looked at me in shock. Someone's actually listening to my lecture? It wasn't until Jolly told me that I realized. If Nonsuch High was considered a struggling school, then Class 13, where I was now, was the bottom of the bottom. It gathered all the underachieving A-level students in the school. When I transferred, the form tutor cried his eyes out. in front of the headmaster to get me into his class. I watched Jolly eating an ice lolly during the lesson, and thought for the first time how bizarre yet vibrant this world could be. Afterwards, the teacher noticeably became more enthusiastic in her teaching. Gradually, a few students were inspired by her and started paying attention. This continued until the end of school. As others rushed out, I noticed a boy in the corner who was still asleep. The school was about to close. I walked over to remind him, "Hey, school's over." He raised his head, lifting his eyelids slightly. His narrow eyes looked straight at me. Under his high bridge nose, thin lips curved upward slightly. "Thanks, baby." I was stunned. This guy wasn't just intimidating, he was calling strangers baby right off the bat. The next second, the lad stood up. And I realized he was even taller than Liam, who was 6 feet 1 inch. He didn't explain himself. His long fingers hooked the collar of his jacket, throwing it over his shoulder. "Let's go," he said. "The gates are about to close." I came to my senses and responded with a quick yeah. Then I followed him out. The young man stood tall. One hand rested on his black bicycle. He was a sight to behold. People around gradually turned their gaze towards him. He seemed accustomed to the attention. I deliberately slowed my pace, creating distance between us. But I noticed he also began to walk slower. The setting sun cast its rays before him, his shadow stopping at my feet. He turned to look at me. "Even snails move faster than you. He's quite forward." As we walked back, I realized we lived in the same neighborhood. He noticed too, a smirk playing on his lips. I learned from Jolly that his name was Shane Castellan, the head boy of Nonsuch High School. Rumor had it that even in the canteen, people followed him, calling him Dad. I thought, goodness, a gang. Until lunchtime, when I saw a group of boys rushing after Shane in the school canteen, grabbing his meal card. "Shane, mate, I've run out of pocket money this month. Help a lad out?" "Me too, Dad." "You're like a real father to me." He seemed to sense my gaze, glancing at me before drawling. "Saw it off." Yet he still handed over his meal card. The group promptly dispersed. So that's what they meant by following him and calling him Dad. A few days later, Mr. Paxton decided to organize one-on-one tutoring pairs for mutual assistance. In summary, the top student in the class would help the student at the bottom. The second best would help the second to last, and so on. "All right, let's start assigning pairs now," Mr. Paxton announced. "We'll begin with Gardenia." "Who's at the bottom of the class?" "Who's last?" A boy in front immediately stood up, about to raise his hand. But someone behind him stood up, speaking in a cool voice, "Me." The boy turned around. "Don't joke around, Shane. You scored 2 points higher than me on the last test." "Mr. Paxton, I'm actually the one at the bottom," he insisted. "Monitor, please help me," he pleaded, looking at me. I had been appointed monitor by Mr. Paxton a few days ago. Shane glanced at him and said, "I cheated on the last test." The boy sat down reluctantly, muttering, "You cheated just to score a few points higher than me?" While tutoring Shane, I noticed he hadn't done much during exams. But when I asked him to complete a test paper, he achieved a near-perfect score. Why was he at the bottom of the class then? I looked at his other papers. His humanities subjects were dismal. He was extremely lopsided in his studies. After I explained a few problems, he quickly grasped the concepts. People good at maths are indeed clever. I felt a bit jealous. After all, I had been doing homework independently since primary school, rarely going out even on weekends. After getting into Center High School, I studied late into the night, splashing cold water on my face in the bathroom when tired to review the day's lessons. I had only explained a few concepts, yet he could quickly understand and apply them. Over time, I discovered Shane had an excellent memory. It was just his essay writing skills that were lacking. So I explained the key points of essay writing to him step by step. You can appropriately add rhetorical devices and idioms to expand your narrative. After a moment, he leaned back slightly against the desk behind him. Raising an eyebrow, he asked, "For example?" "Just try making a sentence using idioms," I encouraged. He chuckled softly, "All right. For instance, earlier, the monitor and I both fell asleep at our desks. You can add idioms to that. I looked at him encouragingly. As the early summer heat intensified, I took a sip of the juice Mum had brought. He gazed at me, his dark eyes deep. Earlier, the monitor and I slept together in a passionate embrace. Pfft. With only 2 weeks left until the A-levels. Mock exams were becoming a daily occurrence. The atmosphere was tense. Mr. Paxton decided to turn the last study period into free time. Jolly leaned towards me, lamenting, "Once A-levels are over, I'll be separated from my crush. It's not just exam season, it's the end of my secret crush season," she sighed. I recalled the last time we passed by the sports field, where she had pointed out a boy, declaring him as her soulmate. He was a lad with glasses as thick as jam jars, always buried in a book. Jolie had run over to offer him some water. But he had merely glanced at her and said, "Give it up, Jolie. I won't be with someone who's always at the bottom of the class." I was about to comfort Jolie when she exclaimed, "He's such a cool, aloof genius. So cold, but I love it." I couldn't help but wonder. Hadn't it been ages since the school nurse last checked students' eyesight? Jolie's taste in boys seemed a bit off. "Gardenia, have you ever thought about dating?" she asked suddenly. Dating. My pen paused mid-sentence. I could feel someone's breath on the nape of my neck, as if they too were waiting for my answer. I shook my head. I'd rather do another set of past papers than date. Later that night, Shane sent me a message. Past papers, is that all you think about? Am I not more handsome than those? Do they have abs like mine? Attached was a photo of glistening abs. His pale stomach showcased well-defined muscles. This was followed by 3 messages that were quickly deleted. I was left utterly confused. On the way home from school the next day, Shane couldn't resist cornering me in a nearby alley. "Gardenia," he said, leaning in close and staring directly at me. "Let's talk after A-levels." "Talk about what?" I asked. He tilted his head, his gaze intense. "Dating." So he really did fancy me. I pressed my lips together. "No. Why not? You only got a D in your English essay." He ran his fingers through his hair, looking crestfallen. "What's that got to do with anything?" The tall, long-legged boy had a smooth jawline. I smirked. "You need to get at least a C in tomorrow's mock exam essay." Shane gritted his teeth. "Fine." In my pocket, my mobile started vibrating. I took it out, but accidentally answered the call. Liam's voice came through the speaker. "Gardenia. Pack your things. You're coming back to Center High tomorrow." His tone was condescending, as if he expected me to eagerly comply with his every word. I was utterly confused. Just as I was about to hang up and speak, someone whispered near my hearing aid. "Babe, you're supposed to close your eyes when you kiss. And don't answer calls from random blokes." On the other end of the line, Liam's voice was laced with anger. "Who's that?" "Gardenia, pack your things and come back before I change my mind." I looked up at Shane's rebellious face in front of me, offering no explanation. "No thanks. I'm happy at None Such High." Liam laughed bitterly. "Gardenia, now's not the time to be stubborn. Do you really plan to stay at a place like None Such High until A-levels? Wasn't your dream to get into Cambridge?" So, he knew my dream was to get into Cambridge. He knew None Such High's educational resources weren't great. But why should I listen? He made me leave and transfer schools in disgrace. And now, with A-levels just around the corner, he wants me to go back. I simply hung up the phone and blocked his number. When Liam tried to call back, he was met with the automated customer service response. Gardenia had blocked him. For over 3 months, he hadn't seen Gardenia. When he forgot to eat breakfast, there was no one to prepare it for him. He always felt a bit uneasy. Even when he was with Irene, he would often look back. But he could no longer see that figure who was always behind him. He thought it must be because he had grown up with Gardenia, and the sudden separation was just unfamiliar. He didn't think too deeply about it. But every night when he returned, he would still stand under Gardenia's flat, feeling reassured only when he saw the light on in her room. She was just being stubborn, he thought. None such high school's classes started later than Center High School's, so he hadn't encountered Gardenia even once in over 3 months. But remembering the male voice he had just heard, he still felt a bit concerned. On second thought, he reminded himself that Gardenia liked him. So when he confessed to her, she blushed and nodded in agreement. They had grown up together, and he understood Gardenia, that obedient and conservative little prude. How could she possibly be dating at a place like None Such High School, let alone kissing someone? It must be that she deliberately had someone say that to make him worry. Thinking of this, he felt slightly relieved. Yet he still walked to the building where Gardenia lived, only feeling at ease when he saw a shadow moving behind the curtains. After the mock exam ended, Shane cornered me in the equipment room. "You got C, I saw. We have to wait until A-levels are over. No dating before then. The A-levels were just around the corner now." He nodded in agreement. In the following period, our revision time grew longer. Shane didn't approach me again, but every morning, a bottle of milk would appear on my desk. In the evenings, on my way home, he'd follow at a distance. The day the countdown on the blackboard was erased, the A-levels finally arrived. After returning home from the exam hall, I recalculated my answers. Once I felt somewhat confident, I slept for 3 days straight at home. Except for washing up and eating, I spent all my time sleeping. My parents were busy with company matters and didn't stop me, simply leaving me some money to manage on my own. When I went downstairs to the supermarket, Shane was standing there. Hearing the sound, he looked at me with burning eyes. "Why are you here?" He stepped forward, the sunlight falling on him, making him especially dazzling. "I'm here to date my girlfriend. It's not early dating anymore." I blinked. "What are you talking about?" He smiled, his fingertip precisely landing behind my ear. Even with the hair covering it, he still pressed on my hearing aid. "I know you wear a hearing aid. You're not thinking of going back on your word, are you?" He gritted his teeth, as if ready to bite me if I admitted it. I mumbled unclearly, "No." He straightened up, clearing his throat lightly. "Good. Let's go. Time for our date." The young man smiled boldly and freely. After the A-level results were released, Mr. Paxton sent a message in the class group chat, inviting everyone for a final gathering. He offered to treat us. This time, everyone's exam results were better than he had anticipated. The group chat erupted with cheers. The time was set for 7 p.m. As I went downstairs, Shane was waiting for me at the entrance. Seeing me, his thin lips curved upwards as he stepped forward and grasped my hand tightly. When we arrived at the restaurant entrance, I let go of his hand before entering. I avoided looking at his suddenly darkened face. Someone curiously asked, "Are the monitor and Shane this close? Why did you arrive together?" I casually explained, "We're not close." Shane looked up, his eyes filled with hurt. "Indeed, we're not close. We just snogged for half an hour earlier." Not only did we snog for half an hour, but when we parted, there was still a string of saliva between us. His pale pink lips were still crimson. Fortunately, the waiter opened the door to serve the food, and everyone clamored about eating away Mr. Paxton's salary. No one heard his words clearly. After dinner at the restaurant, the group clamored about being adults and having plenty of time, insisting they should go to a pub for a bit since they rarely got together. Mr. Paxton, feeling uneasy, decided to tag along. After singing for a while, someone suggested playing Truth or Dare. A few rounds later, the bottle stopped in front of Shane. He chose Truth and drew a card. The lad sitting next to him read the question on the card aloud. "Do you fancy someone? Is she here?" Shane glanced at me. I felt guilty instinctively. Like the other classmates, I pretended to look curious, watching Shane's face. In reality, I was panicking inside. After all, Mr. Paxton was still here, and it felt a bit awkward if he found out we were together. Seeing my expression, the curve of his lips grew wider. Yes, he admitted without hesitation. Everyone looked shocked. Even the form tutor was quite surprised. He stared at Shane's face, his eyes wide open. Who? Who let you fancy someone under my nose, Shane? Shall I ring your parents? The others chimed in unison. Mr. Paxton, we're all adults now. Besides, we've finished our A-levels, thank you very much. That's right, if you can't bear it, why don't you leave early? Mr. Paxton naturally refused. He kept looking at Shane, seeking an answer. Shane looked at me, raised his glass and took a sip. It's not a secret crush. It's an open one. I quietly bent down to stand up, intending to escape to the loo. Shane suddenly called out from behind. Baby, don't you agree? I felt several gazes fall on my back. As my hand was about to grasp the handle, I breathed a sigh of relief. After all, I didn't turn around, so who knows who Shane was calling baby. I stubbornly opened the door. The next second, someone stood behind me, gripping my hand on the doorknob. Going to the loo? I'll accompany you. There was silence behind us. The next moment, there was a burst of screams. The monitor has been hiding it for quite a while. I knew something was off between you two. Gardenia, how come I didn't know? I'm your desk mate. Can't believe I missed out on the hot gossip. The last comment was from Jolly. My ears turned hot. I cursed Shane 100 times in my head. This bloke. His skin is too thick. A soft chuckle sounded in my ear as Shane gripped my hand and fully opened the private room door. Then he closed it behind us. Inside, the uproar grew even louder. After lingering in the bathroom for a while, I splashed cold water on my face several times. The heat finally subsided. When I came out, Shane was leaning against the corridor wall. His sharp features and the unruly strands of dark hair falling over his forehead exuded an air of rebellion. The weather was scorching. He wore a plain white t-shirt that hinted at his well-defined chest underneath. Stretching the fabric, a simple silver chain adorned his neck. Seeing me emerge, he casually pulled out a tissue from his pocket and gently dried my hands, which were still dripping from washing. Where are the others? I asked, noticing how quiet the private room had become. Shane kept his eyes on my hands, his Adam's apple bobbing slightly as he spoke in a husky voice. It's getting late. I told them to head home. Let's go then, shall we? I suggested. I've already settled the bill, he replied. I nodded in acknowledgement. Why did they leave so soon? I inquired. He glanced up at me, probably to spare someone from feeling awkward. He said with a hint of amusement. Then, straightening up, he raised an eyebrow. Miss Miller, am I that embarrassing to be seen with? You should at least give me a proper title, he added teasingly. I could see a flicker of feigned hurt in his eyes. I knew it. The real challenge had begun. I tugged at the hem of his shirt. He remained unmoved. After checking that no one was around, I stood on my tiptoes and planted a kiss on the corner of his lips. The edges of his mouth curved upwards involuntarily. Emboldened, he pressed, we should make it official. Left with no choice, I posted a photo of us together on my social media. My phone immediately began buzzing incessantly. Shane, looking satisfied, said, Come on, I'll take you home. Liam learned about Gardenia's acceptance to Cambridge from his mother. He remembered when 17-year-old Gardenia used to study late into the night, her weight dropping as a result. Unable to bear it, he insisted she rest before 10 p.m. Gardenia's eyes would light up as she spoke of her dream, to attend a top university like Cambridge. Back then, he had casually replied, Sure, when you get in, we'll celebrate. He knew that even without his promise, Gardenia would have joyfully told him first upon getting into her dream university. Yet now, he was hearing this news from his mother. Belatedly, Liam realized that since Gardenia transferred to Nonsuch High School, she hadn't initiated contact with him, even when he asked if she was being bullied. In truth, if she had just choked out a yes, he would have immediately brought her back. He had grown accustomed to Gardenia always following in his wake. But that day, Gardenia had blocked him. She no longer depended on him, and it seemed she no longer needed him either. Realizing this, Liam felt a surge of panic. He couldn't resist the urge to find Gardenia. After she blocked him that day, he never actively sought her out again. He was holding on to his anger, wanting to teach her a lesson. Later, it was he who couldn't hold out any longer. He offered her a way to reconcile. He called, asking her to come back. But a strange man's voice answered the phone. So intimate. Yet he knew Gardenia was sweet and conservative. She wouldn't fall for someone from a place like none such high school. Irene also said Gardenia was just trying to make him jealous. But now, with A-levels over, Gardenia seemed to have completely vanished from his life. He walked to Gardenia's front door. The light in her room was still on. Liam sighed in relief and knocked on the door. Someone inside came to open it. Liam struggled to maintain his composure. "Mrs. Miller, I'm looking for Gard," he stopped mid-sentence. Before him stood an unfamiliar middle-aged couple in their nightwear. "Who are you? Why are you in the Miller's house?" he asked, perplexed. The couple frowned at him. "What Millers? This is our home." Liam's face paled. "But this is clearly Mr. Miller's house." The couple thought for a moment, then explained. "Oh, you must mean the previous owners." "Previous owners?" "Yes, we bought this house over 3 months ago." "But what about them? Where did they move to? How should I know?" With that, the couple shut the door. Liam stood at the doorstep, utterly bewildered. Gardenia had moved? Why didn't he know about this? Why hadn't she told him where she'd gone, or if she was ever coming back? As he was about to turn back to get some answers, his phone chimed with a notification. His friend had sent him a message. "Check Gardenia's Instagram. She's made it official." Liam opened Gardenia's Instagram profile. She rarely used social media, and her posts were few and far between. Even though she had blocked his number, she hadn't blocked him on Instagram. Today, as soon as he opened her profile, he saw a photo of her with another young man. The man wore a white short-sleeved shirt and black trousers, his dark fringe falling rakishly over his forehead. He was looking down at the girl beside him, who was wearing a white sundress. The couple stood beneath a large oak tree, looking perfectly matched. Her caption read, "The diary entry the puppy wanted. When Shane dropped me off at my building, I had fallen asleep in the car. Baby, we're here," he said softly. I opened my eyes and saw his fair, slender neck in the dim light. His Adam's apple moved slightly as he swallowed. Instinctively, I wanted to leave my mark on it. So I leaned in and kissed him there. His whole body tensed up, and his breathing quickened. A moment later, I came to my senses and pulled away. There was now a faint red mark where my lips had been. His eyes were dark and intense, as if he wanted to devour me. Suddenly, I remembered something I'd once read online. Lads in their late teens can't control what's on their minds. They're easily aroused. I opened the car door and jumped out, ready to dash home. Shane got out too and grabbed my hand, pulling me back. His eyes still had that same intense look. "Shane, what are you doing?" I asked nervously. He stared at me for a long time without speaking. Finally, he lowered his head and kissed my neck. "Tit for tat," he murmured, before releasing my hand. I was about to leave when I heard a husky voice call my name from nearby. "Gardenia." I looked in that direction. Under the yellowish light, Liam stood there, his face pale. His eyes seemed to be tinged with red. He walked towards me. "Let's talk," he said. I hadn't expected to see Liam again. After all, when Dad resigned, our whole family moved away, and we no longer had any connection or entanglement with him. I sighed. "There's no need. We have nothing to talk about." As I finished speaking, I was about to go upstairs. He stepped forward, his voice pleading, "Just for a moment, please? Gardenia, can I apologize? I shouldn't have forced you to transfer to none such high school right before your A-levels. Irene and I have split up. I just thought you wouldn't leave. It was just a momentary fascination. Irene and I never officially started anything. I've cut ties with her. Can we make up? Come back, and we can be like we were before. Liam had always been a proud man. I had never seen him look so hopeful and pleading before. We can't go back, Liam, I said. Not wanting to hear any more, I tugged at Shane's sleeve. He looked down and ruffled my hair. You go upstairs first. I nodded and walked away quickly. Behind me, Liam tried to follow, but Shane held him back by the shoulder. I heard the sounds of them scuffling, but I didn't stop. The fierce lad who could take on 10 in an alley had nothing to worry about. I did, however, catch snippets of their conversation. Who do you think you are? Liam demanded. Gardenia and I grew up together. Did you know that? Shane's cool voice replied, Oh. But what does that matter? I'm her boyfriend now. If we're talking about childhood friends, Gardenia and I. The lift doors closed, cutting off the rest of their words. Liam remained silent. His lip was bruised and swollen. That bloke had certainly hit him hard. He heard Gardenia going upstairs to call Shane. Her voice was soft and clear on the other end. Are you all right? You're not hurt, are you? He finally realized that Gardenia no longer cared about him. Once upon a time, after getting into a fight, he had gone to Gardenia's house to avoid his mom's nagging. Back then, Gardenia had carefully dabbed his wounds with cotton swabs. Does it still hurt? He used to believe that Gardenia would always be there, waiting for him. He was so confident in this belief. But in the end, after leaving Center High School, Gardenia had moved on completely. She had a new boyfriend now. He remembered when Gardenia left Center High School. Her silhouette was defiant, her ear bruised purple from the basketball. His mate had sighed and advised him. Aren't you afraid she won't come back? He had scoffed inwardly. Gardenia's father worked for his family's company. Her house was near his. Everything about Gardenia was inseparable from him. It was just a change of schools, how could she not return to his side? That day, in the sunset, his mate had said, Liam, your childhood friend might become someone else's dream girl. He hadn't listened. Now, looking back, it was so ironic. When he had arrogantly claimed that childhood friends were no match for new love, his own childhood friend had become someone else's dream girl. Shane and I got engaged during the summer holiday before our third year at university. On the day of our engagement, Shane's parents came as well. It was the first time I had met his parents since Shane and I got together. He had only told me that he grew up with his grandparents in the old family house. As for his parents, he had only mentioned that they divorced when he was 7, and he never said anything else about them. Shane's mother had returned from abroad and was dressed elegantly. His father, from the moment his mother appeared, couldn't take his eyes off her. Until my mum walked over and asked with surprise, Are you Greta, who used to live upstairs from us? It was then that I learned that Shane's family had once lived in the flat above ours. Later, after his parents' divorce, Shane moved away. After that, their flat was put up for sale. Gradually, I forgot about that little boy. Until the Sheffield family moved in. I often went upstairs out of habit to play with Liam. I remembered that there used to be a little boy upstairs who would often buy me sweets with his pocket money. If you eat my sweets, you'll have to be my wife when you grow up. The little boy's childish voice echoed in my ears. I looked at Shane in surprise. I remembered the day he fought with Liam, he said. If we're talking about childhood sweethearts, Gardenia and I are the real deal. We knew each other before you even existed. So, what he said was true. I also recalled the day he transferred to our school. When he said to me, Thanks, baby, with a cheeky grin. After the wedding reception, I received an anonymous gift. It was a property transfer agreement. At the bottom, Liam's signature was already in place. After I started at Cambridge, Liam tried to see me a few times. But Shane was vigilant in keeping him away, and I refused to meet him. He could only stand outside my dormitory, night after night. Later I heard he went abroad and was accidentally caught in a shooting, injuring his leg. Irene often inquired about Liam in our group chat. Her A-level results weren't great, so she ended up studying dance at an art school in the South. It wasn't long before she went through several wealthy boyfriends, but each relationship ended in failure. She tried to contact Liam abroad through others, but he never replied. Shane came out of the bathroom with just a towel around his waist. Seeing the signed name on the agreement, he sneered. Still trying his luck. Keeping this thing around was indeed irritating. What was he trying to achieve by sending me this? I tossed it in the bin and then wrapped my arms around Shane's waist. He looked down, his eyes darkening. Baby, feeling frisky? Even though we'd been intimate for a while, how was he still so cheeky? After a long silence, I nestled in his arms and changed the subject. So, you recognized me from the first moment you saw me? Shane lowered his head and ruffled my hair. Is it because of our childhood that you like me? He objected. No, Gardenia. With you, it's childhood sweethearts, and also, love at first sight. The stereo in the living room was still playing music. At this moment, I'm incredibly grateful. My world, after all its twists and turns, still leads back to you. My fingertips slipped under Shane's shirt, landing on his abdomen. He took a deep breath and grasped my wrist. Lowering his head, he kissed my lips. Gradually consuming. Growing more urgent. Until my arms encircled his neck. He stood up, laying me on the bed. My wrists were held above my head. His kisses gradually moved downward, from my neck to my collarbone, and further. His hot breath occasionally accompanied by husky pants. I couldn't control my body's sudden softening. Struggling, I removed my hearing aid, my last act of defiance. He leaned down and chuckled softly in my right ear, seeming to see through me. Then he shamelessly let out muffled groans and pants by my ear. Even though only one ear could hear. I felt the sounds in this room were still a bit too loud. The night was still young. After graduation, Shane and I successfully registered our marriage. Upon returning from our honeymoon, my parents bought a terraced house in the suburbs for their retirement. Concerned about potential damage to some of their old belongings by the moving company, they insisted on moving everything themselves. On moving day, Shane and I went to help. As my mother carried a cardboard box. Its damp and worn bottom gave way, spilling all its contents onto the ground. I stepped forward and saw that these were all my A-level textbooks from 6th form. My fingers, however, landed on a leather-bound yearbook. As if possessed, I flipped through a few pages. Each page was filled with well wishes from my none-such high school classmates. Some wished me luck in my A-levels and hoped I'd get into Cambridge, while others simply wished me happiness. Below were their own aspirations. Half hoped to become fabulously rich and beautiful, while the other half dreamed of becoming pop stars or famous actors. My fingers paused on the last page. It was Shane's. Back then, everyone was busy writing in each other's yearbooks, passing them around the classroom. The place was in utter chaos. I was preoccupied with leaving my own messages and contact details for other classmates. I hadn't taken the time to read through each page. So this was the first time I'd seen Shane's page. His handwriting, like him, was bold and defiant in every stroke. Name, Shane Castellan. Height, 6 feet 2 inches. Address, unknown. His message to me was a hope that I'd get into Cambridge. At the bottom, in the future aspirations section, he had written just 2 words. Marry you. Epilogue, Shane. Shane had never told Gardenia. When she stood at the front of the classroom introducing herself, he looked up and saw her at once. Those familiar features. And the girl's soft, clear voice. Hello everyone, I'm Gardenia Miller. Gardenia like the flower. In his memory, a little girl in blue dungarees followed behind him. I'm Gardenia Miller. Gardenia like the flower. Later, he and Gardenia became close. He spent all his pocket money buying sweets for Gardenia. He said, the sweets I buy are for my wife. He vaguely knew that a wife was someone you spent your life with. Gardenia said, then I'll be your wife. Thanks to him, 6-year-old Gardenia had a cavity just before losing her baby teeth. Looking at her on the platform in the school uniform of a dark red checkered skirt and white shirt. His heart skipped a beat. The corners of his mouth turned up involuntarily. His wife had come back to him. Someone noticed his expression and looked shocked. He glared at them, then pretended to sleep on his desk. He hadn't expected Gardenia to be seated in front of him. He could hear her conversation with Jolie. His nose was filled with the scent of the girl. After school, he didn't leave. Not until Gardenia finished revising. He was certain Gardenia would wake him, because Jolie had told her the school would be locked. Sure enough. Unable to contain himself, he looked at that beautiful face so close to him and said, "Thanks, baby." Then, seeing her stunned eyes, he smirked and stood up to leave, trying to hide his feelings. Liam returned home. He dreamt of his childhood. When he was 7, he and his mother came home. To hear his father's voice accompanied by a woman's flirtatious tone behind the door. Then, his ears were filled with the woman's terrified pleas. And his mother's anguished questions. Followed by his father's apologetic yet irritated voice. He rushed in to stand in front of his mother, wanting to protect her. But his father threw him into a room and locked him in. Outside the door were sounds of crashing and breaking. Finally, all sounds ceased. The door was opened by Gardenia. She hugged him as he curled up in the corner. Gardenia brought him lots of sweets, her favorite at the time. She didn't know what had happened, but she knew it was something that terrified all children. In the evening, his parents returned. They both held red booklets and numerous documents in their hands. His mother, with red-rimmed eyes, packed their belongings and bought tickets to go abroad. His father sneered before leaving with his arm around his secretary's waist. This home was left with only him. It wasn't until late at night that his grandparents came to take him back to the family estate. Sitting in the car, he tried hard to remember the route. But he still forgot it when he woke up the next day. Afterwards, he tried to go back. But his grandparents thought he wanted to find his parents inside, stopping him. He just wanted to find Gardenia. He knew he had been abandoned by his parents. Seaton is vast. So vast that even though he searched every week, relying on his memory, he never found his way back. Seaton is small. So small that he encountered Gardenia again. She's his childhood sweetheart. Also his love at first sight. Summer never fades, and we are destined to meet again.